you for joining Making Pivotal Change, my podcast that's really about companies that are able to pivot, that are able to make fundamental change quickly. It's never been more true in COVID, but it's true in general. And the podcast is really about looking at companies that can make that change and what enabled them to have the ability to make those kinds of changes. Change is really hard, and getting to the bottom and the root cause of what foundations were in place that enable those kinds of pivots is really what this podcast is about. So today's guest, I want to welcome Breck Rice, and Breck is the Chief Revenue Officer of ServeRx, based here in Phoenix. Rather than me try to explain what you guys do, Breck, why don't you go ahead and walk everybody through that real quick?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast, and we're pretty excited about the pivot we've made. ServeRx is a 10-year-old, almost 11-year-old company. We're in revenue cycle management. So we are a payer, a third-party payer to community pharmacies and chain pharmacies, specifically for their workers' compensation patients. These would be their retail patients, someone that walks in to get a prescription filled after getting hurt on the job. So we're a third-party payer to that community. We have some of our chains that also want us to manage their own employee program. And that's where we were able to make a pivot when the coronavirus hit, is that we had already put together this sequencing platform to really track and monitor the success of getting an injured worker back to work. So checking the drug therapy for the type of injury, making sure that everything is synced up, doing the best we can to get those injured workers back to being productive citizens again. And so when the coronavirus hit and businesses started closing down and sending their employees remote or just completely furloughing employees, we saw a dip in the number of claims that we were processing. When there's a high unemployment rate, there's fewer people in the workforce, fewer claims. And then we also were sitting on some industry calls, listening to pharmacy owners and pharmacy managers of chains concerned that they were essential businesses that remained open during this pandemic. What if one of their employees happens to contract the coronavirus? Are they liable for that? And what can they do to kind of mitigate some of that risk? So that got us thinking, Scott, we're sitting on this little platform of sequencing to be able to give quick automated responses back to employees or patients, also back to the information coming back to the employer on those employees in a very timely manner. We thought, here's a great opportunity for us to help mitigate that risk for these employers who have frontline employees that could potentially become exposed to the coronavirus.
So how did you arrive at, because you had to move very, very quickly. And I have to tell you, I was blown away by what you shared with me when we first met and talked about this a little bit. What was the inspiration? What was that moment when you all realized that from a business softening based on what you just went through to a real business opportunity, you could actually find the the gold in all of this?
Yeah, we've always been very much an organization that's built around how do we better serve or better help the pharmacies who are our partners and the patients they serve. And so having that mentality of always looking to be a help, what can we do to help? And even the third-party billing, because one thing I didn't mention is on our third-party billing side of our company, we're paying pharmacies a fair reimbursement for those medications, typically double or triple what the PBMs or the pharmacy benefit managers are paying the pharmacies for the same medication. The difference is we're passing on all of that profit to the pharmacy, where a PBM is putting that profit in their own pocket. At the end of the day, the payer is paying the same amount. There's usually an established fee schedule that shows, what a medication's AWP or average wholesale price is, and the PBMs are keeping that profit for themselves, and that's why they're as large as they are. And why they're under the scrutiny that they're under right now with legislation and other pharmacy chains and community pharmacies. So with the mentality we've had to always be a help, trying to find ways to better help our clients, listening to them concerned about, this, being frontline, health service workers and being essential businesses remaining open. How could we help them mitigate that risk? And coming up with a daily health screening program just seemed like a natural fit. Plus, we were paying very close attention as a Phoenix employer. We were following the recommendations and guidelines of our own state. And when we heard our governor talking about restaurants and bars needing to have some solution to, check their employees to make sure that their employees aren't coming to work contagious. That was the other pivoting moment for us was, hey, we have something where we can make some tweaks to it and make it a little more robust than what it is currently today to be able to launch to help businesses get back to business.
So share a little bit about what you are putting into the marketplace and how it works.
Yeah, so daily health screens, it's following the CDC guidelines or the recommendations. So it's a self-reporting survey that an employee would log in, do the survey. Based on their responses, they're going to get auto replies back to them that would give them instructions. Either it looks like you're fine to come on into your shift today, or it may say, they may have marked that they have a sore throat, and one of the symptoms of coronavirus. So if they mark that, then they're going to get an automatic response that says, stay at home and wait for a call from your supervisor. Supervisor immediately also gets a notification. One of your employees has a symptom. If they have enough symptoms of the coronavirus, it may say, you appear to have enough of these symptoms. You need to immediately go be tested for COVID. And here's a list of the approved testing sites that you can go to. But all of that tracking and monitoring is helping before the employee even shows up for work. They're literally signing the survey saying, nope, I'm COVID free. I don't have any of the symptoms. I don't have an elevated temperature. Most companies were already doing the forehead scanning for taking the temperature at work. We wanted to get away from having the human interaction there in case of spread. So we were looking all over for a partner to be able to put in just a kind of a standalone little kiosk, no touching, just walk up to it, take your temperature. And we found a lot of solutions out there. There's some very, very high-tech, expensive camera systems with thermal imaging and facial recognition. And we were trying to find something that wasn't not only was a good product that we knew had accuracy, but we wanted the cost to be affordable too, because a lot of our clients are small independent owner operators. And so, some of those systems were, $13,000, $15,000, and it was just way too much. We did our due diligence on a couple of different companies. We liked the thermal imaging kiosks that we've partnered with today because they thoroughly go through all of that equipment to make sure that there isn't any spyware or any extra things that shouldn't be on the systems, because most of the components are coming out of China and other places. But we partnered with a thermal imaging kiosk solution that we stand behind. We've vetted it, we've gone through it, and tried to make it fail and break it, and we haven't been able to. And so we've installed them even in our own office. We actually have them connected to our access cards for door entry. And so if an employee shows up and presents and does have an elevated temperature, the door doesn't even open. to let them in the building. So we're definitely keeping sick people out so that the well people can continue working.
Yeah, and it's really cool what you showed me in terms of it. You even created an environment that's designed to avoid false positives and negatives. You showed me with kind of how you did the warm water test, right? So
Yep.
really, really well thought out product. Now it's a pretty big departure from the perspective of, you were in the payments processing and logistics management of in the pharmaceutical space against a pretty significant specialized target. Now you're going after, if I understand it correctly, you've got a completely different product going after a completely different market with different technology. You're going after the commercial space that has marketing and distribution challenges and things like that. Those are things that and shifts that can take businesses years if they can ever get there. How are you adjusting to move this quickly with that much change?
Yeah, Scott, it's really exciting because this is the first time that we've ever had a service or a product that extended beyond pharmacy and also extended outside of the United States. So our program, our core competency in revenue cycle management is specific to workers' compensation. Well, that's only a program here in the U.S. So for the first time ever, we have now a service offering that we can take globally, because if you have employees and you need them back at work, either in the office, in the warehouse, in the manufacturing plant, you need employees there on the ground. You should have some solution in place to make sure, even if there's not a litigation issue, take that completely out of the picture, that you're not going to potentially be sued for an employee contracting the coronavirus because they were asked to come fill a shift. Take that completely out of it. But if one exposed individual passes that to another person who passes another, now you don't have a workforce anymore. They're all out sick.
Right. And that's it. We've all seen that before, even with the flu, where somebody gets it, brings it in, and all of a sudden the entire office is out and productivity is destroyed. That, even just at the fundamental level with the flu, has always been an issue. So I think the solution, I would feel better myself coming into an office knowing that everybody had to go through the screening that you showed me. So for anybody out there who is interested in making sure that the office is safe, I really would recommend touching base with Breck or going to the website and checking it out, because it's really, really cool. So as you go forward, I know there are other companies that are running toward this kind of a solution too. You alluded to that too. I think when we talked about it, some of the real big players are out there trying to get there. Tell me a little bit about what has enabled you to move as quicker than them and what's made you different.
Yeah, I think, because our mindset is on helping our partners and then helping small businesses, because that really is the backbone to our economy here, and especially in the U.S. is small business. So to help them get back up and running, we have, on purpose, put out a solution that is fairly simple. There's not a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of add-ons, but that was on purpose. We wanted to get something out the door immediately to help our partners, and we wanted it to be affordable. There'll be systems that come out that'll have all kinds of bells and whistles, and you're going to pay for all of those extras. We've seen pricing as much as $80 per employee per month for a solution that isn't doing anything more than what we're doing today for about $2 per employee.
Wow.
But that was by design, that we put out a very basic 1.0 version. Now, can you take it a lot further and integrate it into other systems like your HR time and attendance? Yeah, absolutely. We do have companies that are already doing that. They want everything connected so that if somebody does have, presents with symptoms or has an elevated temperature, that it automatically puts them down for PTO or sick time for the day.
But my guess is for most entrepreneurial businesses, they probably can't afford those other solutions. And the basic is really, they're just looking to keep a safe environment.
Yeah. I've done a little bit of research on, some of the litigations that unfortunately have happened for small employers. And it's pretty staggering what it takes to settle a claim if an employee were to make the claim that they were infected and exposed to the coronavirus at work. And, on average, it's somewhere around $125,000 and almost 300 days to settle. And that's if it's settled. If it goes to a judgment or to, where a judge has to get involved and potentially, your peers hearing the situation, those averages go up quite a bit. It's like 200,000 to settle if there's a judgment involved, and about 25% of those suits end up costing 500,000 or more.
So essentially, I mean, just even by having this technology and avoiding one case, it's well more than paid for itself.
Absolutely.
Just the human factors of not wanting to put your people at risk as well and making them
absolutely
back. So to make this kind of a pivot, if you look back and said, okay, foundationally, we obviously have done something right. We built something right that enabled us to make this kind of a pivot together as a leadership team and as a company. What are a couple of things that you would cite that really were in place before this that allowed you to move this innovatively and this fast?
Yeah, it was already working with, with injured workers and kind of tracking and monitoring their progress, trying to help people with a sickness or an injury get better, and kind of having that process in place to track and monitor things. So, somebody could lie on their survey, but it's, we're going to have these other checks and balances in place. But where I think the rubber really meets the road on this particular solution is when an employee actually takes the survey and then signs it. So they're either signing it, electronically with their finger on a smart device like an iPhone, or they're signing with their mouse on the computer that they are stating that they are COVID free. That's where we think really the rubber meets the road. As exciting as those thermal imaging and the facial recognition, we have, our employee door, we have the facial recognition turned on. So that's actually their time and attendance. It recognizes our employees by their face, checks their temperature before that allows the door to open. Those products are really cool because it's, high tech and fun to see that it's tangible. You can touch it. But where the rubber really meets the road is on the surveys where the employees are signing, stating, I state that I am COVID free.
Right. That's the less sexy part, but probably the legally more important part of the whole thing, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So when, you were sitting there, COVID's happening, your business is softening, you're trying to figure things out, and somebody had the idea, hey, I think we can do this. How was that received by the leadership team, and how quickly were you able to say, let's go pursue this?
Yeah, that came from the leadership team. So, our CEO he's an amazingly smart individual who really does have his finger on the pulse of what's going on, not just with his own businesses, because he has multiple businesses that he runs. But he's a serial entrepreneur. And so he saw this opportunity and asked, gave me the assignment, go see if we can get something launched and help our current clients and then potentially help small business in general.
What are some of the biggest roadblocks you've hit along the way? And how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I think, everything takes a lot more time and money to develop what is the rule of 24. I think it was actually a case study done at Harvard that everything takes twice as long and 4 times as much money.
Amazing how that's
might be the other, yeah, might be the other way around.
No,
4 times as long and twice. Right. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the biggest roadblock is that we did need some outsourcing to finish up some of the things that we wanted to have in the solution, because it is all customizable. We wanted, we can certainly give you a template that follows OSHA and CDC recommendations. but there may be a municipality or a county that even has stricter requirements. So we needed it to be fluid enough that an administrator, HR director, vice president of the human resources could go into the system and easily format it and enhance it if there's an area of the country that they're in that requires even stricter guidelines.
And so from the perspective of availability, is this available now, or when do you think it will be ready for businesses to deploy?
It is available today. It's ready to go. We are still putting out the press release for it, but we're taking word of mouth clients today, and the landing page is up at RTW for return to work. So rtw.servrx.com. That's the landing page that has more information. We have some great resources on that page. Get the downloadable resources for returning to school for school-age children. There's a great checklist on there for that. Some case studies that are pretty exciting about treatment of the coronavirus. If you have already fallen victim to this virus, there's some really good case studies on treatment plans as well.
And I imagine your target audience is pretty broad. It's pretty much every business that's concerned about their employees and getting them back, or the legal implications of getting people back in the office.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. We've had some interest from foreign entities as well. So in the UK, Philippines, New Zealand, Australia. So we're pretty excited about this being a global solution to a global problem.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So Breck, I'm just going to give you the opportunity. If there's anything else you want to lay out there or say or drive people to, please feel free.
Yeah, we believe that we have a solution that will help, and we don't want there to be any restrictions for anyone to be able to use this. So, if a small business that has had their doors closed and there isn't any revenue coming in at this point, and they're trying to get reopened, reach out to me. We'll work something out. We'll get you up and running with a free subscription until you can pay for the subscription. We'll do whatever we can to help businesses get back to business. For those enterprise companies that have a lot of employees and they're waiting, until next year to bring those employees back, check your productivity. I'm guessing productivity looked great at first because everyone was excited about this new opportunity to work from home. But now that we've had a few months of this, I bet you're seeing some productivity drop off, and we can help with that, and we can help you get those employees back to work where they can be productive again.
Terrific. You want to share that website and contact info one more time?
Yeah, rtw.serverx.com.
Terrific. So everybody, I have seen this. I've seen the demo of the technology. It's crazy easy. It's unbelievably effective. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to see the mission of getting us all back to where we should be and back to whatever normal is going to look like is going to be helped tremendously by the product that Breck's talking about here. So Breck Rice, Chief Revenue Officer of ServeRx, I can't thank you enough for being my guest. I appreciate you sharing your pivot, and I look forward to seeing great things. I really think that you're solving a need in a way that few people have, and I applaud your ability to move this quickly to solve that problem.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the opportunity to do this podcast with you.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody.